Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on another Action Bible video today. We are going to be on page 571. Actually, today we're going to be doing something very different. We're going to look at two stories today. Both of the stories are going to show us something Jesus had complete control over that no other person has. Let's see if you can figure it out. We pick up on page 571 where Jesus had told his disciples to cross the other side of the Sea of Galilee. When they started their journey across the sea, the weather was nice, and Jesus went to the back of the ship and decided to take a nap. But then suddenly a huge storm swept across the sea. The waves started to go back and forth, and the disciples were going back and forth, and they shouted, "Lower the sail! Where's the anchor?" The storm kept on getting more and more rough, and where was Jesus? He was still taking a nap in the back. Giant waves started to pour over the sides of the boat. The disciples couldn't do anything to stop the water from coming in. "Help!" they yelled. "We're gonna drown!" Somehow through all the commotion, Jesus stayed asleep. And so the disciples ran over to him and they shook him. And they said, "Master, don't you care that we're going to drown?" Jesus woke up and didn't say a word to the disciples. He just stood up, reached his hand out, and said, "Quiet. Be still." That's my Jesus voice. And just like that, the wind died down and the sea was completely calm. Jesus turned to his disciples and said, "Why are you guys so afraid? Is your faith in me still so weak?" The disciples scratched their heads and said, "Wow, who is this guy? Even the wind and the seas obey him." Now that's a pretty crazy story, but we're not done yet. I want you to take your Action Bible and turn 10 pages over to page 581. 1, 2. Pastor Brandon, can you help me turn the pages, please?
Yeah, I got you.
Thank you. That was much faster than me doing it on my own. Similar to the last story, Jesus was telling the disciples to cross the Sea of Galilee by a boat. But this time, Jesus wasn't with them. He was up on the mountain praying. The disciples started to row. And some of the disciples thought, how is Jesus going to catch them? Does he have his own boat? Just then the wind started to pick up, and it was getting hard to row. One of the disciples looked out in the distance and saw a ghost. Ah! But then Peter started to look a little closer, and he said, "No, wait, it's not a ghost. It's Jesus." It was Jesus walking across the water. Peter gets really excited and says, "Jesus, can I come out there too?" And Jesus says, "Come." And so Peter jumps out of the boat, and he too started to walk on the water. If walking on water doesn't show Jesus' power, I don't know what does. As long as Peter kept his eyes on Jesus, he was able to stay on the water. But then Peter started to look around and see the wind and the waves, and he started to get nervous. When he got nervous, he started to sink, and he yelled, "Jesus, save me!" But then Jesus reached out, grabbed Peter's hand, and pulled him into the boat. He said, "Peter, why did you doubt me?" But the other disciples said, "Wow, you really are the Son of God." And if you think that's the end, it's not. John chapter 6 actually tells us that as soon as they got into the boat, not only did the wind die down, but when the disciples looked around, they noticed they were back at shore. Jesus calmed the sea this time again and moved the boat. Were you able to figure out what it is that Jesus is showing he has power over? He has power over nature. He controlled the weather. He controlled the water. Jesus was able to just tell it to stop, and it did whatever he said. And you know what's even crazier than all that? The same God and the same Jesus who has control and power over all those things is the same God who loves me and you. A lot of times we can be like Peter, and we look at all the things happening around us, and we can easily get scared. Peter was just on the top of the water and having the time of his life, I'm sure, but it was so easy for him to get distracted by the things around him that he forgot who was giving him the power to walk on the water in the first place. But you know what? I think Jesus knew, because he doesn't leave Peter's side. As soon as Peter sees the winds and waves around him, and starts to sink, Jesus reaches out his hand and saves Peter. And the same goes for us today. Jesus is always right there. So when times are scary, or maybe sad, or make us just a little bit nervous, let's trust the God who made it and controls it all. I hope today that you'll be willing to trust him. I'm not saying that you'll be able to walk on water, so you probably shouldn't try that next time you go to the beach. But maybe, just maybe, God will show you something great. After all, he is the one who controls it all. Don't forget that now we're on a brand new channel. And so you need to resubscribe if you haven't already, so that you won't miss any more of our Action Bible videos. And also, if you'd like to make some artwork of me and my friends, or some of our Action Bible stories, you can send them to me, and I'll put them on the wall behind me. I think I'm gonna have to do a drawing on my own because my wall's starting to get a little naked. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!